I read a report this week of starving children in a war-torn area. And naturally it makes your heart tight. And I decided to go out for a walk. And I passed our neighbor's home. They were kicked out. It was a rental, and they were kicked out, and the new ownership has taken over, and they ripped out all of their plantings and cut down this baby tree that our friend had planted in her front yard. Here I had applied some energy. Let's go for a walk. And then the cascade came and poured down some more of that thinking. And one thought triggers another. It's kind of a cascade. Buddha would say, this is an untrained mind. This is an untrained mind. A wonderful quote from Buddha that I love and I take refuge in frequently. Buddha says, who is your enemy? Mind is your enemy. No one will harm you more than your own mind untrained. Who is your friend? Mind is your friend. No one can assist you and care for you better than your own mind well trained. Not even your mother or your father. So I want to just talk about this a little bit, this vipassana that we do, and how does it help us? How can it help us? We know how it helps us, but I want to just go in a little bit on a couple of things today. And one thing that came to my mind was something that was shared with me recently. I cannot remember for the life of me where it came from, but it was a teacher in a class that I was taking. And the teacher was sharing about the research. They study the minds of meditators. That's very popular now. And they were comparing, this particular research project was comparing Olympic meditators, so these are people who are really next level, comparing their brains with the brains of non-meditators. And I've heard the research that the prefrontal cortex and the meditation person's mind is more physically developed. It's physically measurable. That this area of your brain that creates rational thought and reason is more well developed in those people who meditate, which I guess we can include ourselves in that category. But in this particular study, what they were looking at was the response to emotional stimuli. So what's the brain activity when you see something upsetting? And what they found was that those people who meditate have a stronger emotional response at the time of contact, so when whatever it is happens, but it lasts shorter. So the intensity is greater, duration is less. So the heart keens. You could say the person feels more deeply and lets go more quickly. And we'll see what that might mean a little bit later on. So vipassana, this practice that we do, because there's a lot of different ways to meditate, and they're all, in my view, valid in each of their own ways. But in vipassana, The word vipassana comes from the Pali root. Vi means like super or special, like uber, and pasana means seeing, sight. And so it's this clear seeing. So this meditation that we do is clear seeing. And so how do we get this clear seeing? What is it that we do? We do what we did today, which is you're watching your mind. But something else that we do, and I don't talk about it as much as I probably want to, the secret to the practice is knowing that every emotion that you have, your fear, your anger, your sadness, is no more and no less than a physical sensation in the body. And we are learning to not react to that physical sensation in the body. And this is the key to climbing out. This is the key to enlightenment, if you're on that path, which I would argue we all are, in one way or another. The directive of the Buddha was that you need to experience this physical sensation firsthand. You can't just have a theory of why it's not good to ruminate or proliferate negative thoughts. That's not enough. Knowing that that's bad is not enough. You have to lean in and experience it for yourself. And the usual complaints is that you fear being overwhelmed by the emotions. So people who are just, very emotional, fear that they'll just be drowned in it. People who are more, it sounds negative, but I would just say cut off from emotions or distant from emotions. That's also a fear. And so Buddha would say, do not be afraid. Feeling a sensation in your body connected to an emotion that's triggered by a thought process in your brain, having come into contact with some phenomena, this will not harm you. And so what are we looking for exactly when we're looking for these physical sensations? And a lot of my training in this particular area came from Tara Brach. She's very good at words. She's a wordsmith. Tight. Squeezing. Heavy. Vibration. Clenching. Palpitation. Pressure. Things like this we are looking for. And our question to ourselves is, can I be with this throughout its lifespan, which we know from research is 60 to 90 seconds? Can I be with this squeezing in my chest for 60 to 90 seconds while it lives its little life? Can I lean into that? The reason it's hard is that it's easy to get hijacked by the cascade of the mind. So while it's physically impossible to have one feeling in your physical body more than 60 to 90 seconds, right? Your fear comes up. The body is designed for that to last a very short time. The mind gets in and retells the story and adds another story, and it starts to pile on. Right? So you see where this goes. So now you have to add another 60 seconds and another 60 seconds and another 60 seconds. And before you know it, you're in the cascade. So with this vipassana practice, we stop refeeding the story. We hear the story. We know this. We know what, oh, okay, yep. And then we focus on the physical sensation, the tightness, the squeezing, the heaviness, the vibration, the clenching. We get in there and we try to name it very specifically and very physically. And we care for it. You'll observe when you are able to get in and feel that discomfort. It's a very uncomfortable physical feeling. When you're able to get in there like a scientist and feel it, ooh, suddenly you get a lot of interesting ideas on how you might care for it. One that's very popular with students is walk away. Ooh, I think I'm going to walk away right now. There's lots of different ways to care for that. So this is a training. This is our training that we do. Very wholesome. And it is it's really the one thing to know about our feelings and emotions. The most important. There's so much to know. It's the most. It's at the top. And, at this point, I do want to mention there's this idea of spiritual bypassing that comes up with some regularity, because this idea of moving our attention into the body, when you get down into it, it's not spiritual bypassing, but it's often people don't take the second step. They just take the step of moving away from the painful story and moving into, for example, a mantra or a clever solution to the problem, like, oh, I'm feeling distressed by this information. I'm just going to have, a glass of wine. That'll make me feel better. It's not that. Or when that, comes up a lot is, well, I'm going to have an attitude of joy, or I'm going to be the peace that I want to see in the world. So that's bypassing that one crucial step, which is moving into the physical sensation and riding that out for just a moment, just a minute. Spiritual bypassing is not all bad. And we all do it. It's okay, just turning away. But don't fall into the trap of thinking that that's your way out of your suffering. It's a temporary hold. You're saying, okay, wait, I'm just not ready right now. When I am ready, I'll sense into the physical. I'll mention here that the practice, as you're practicing this physical exploration, as you're practicing Vipassana meditation, period, as you're sitting in meditation and you see the thoughts coming up and you see them disappearing, as you focus on your breath, as you sense it come in and you sense it leaving, you get in touch with anicca, which is impermanence. You notice the impermanent nature of all things. You notice this. It's one of the three marks of existence. There's dukkha, there's anicca, and there's anatta. There's suffering, like shit happens. Impermanence, nothing lasts. And anatta, don't take it personally. These are the three marks of existence as discovered by Buddha that we can apply to literally everything. Everything in all of existence has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Things arise, they persist, and they pass away. And Buddha said nothing is not subject to a beginning, a middle, and an end. Everything arises and passes away. And our suffering comes when we try to hold on. We either try to hold on to the good things. For example, that great feeling in the morning when you're in bed and you feel so relaxed and you don't want to get out of bed. It's just a moment and it's ending. A good thing is ending and you hold on a little. It's all right, but know it, see it. Be aware of that. This is an ending of something good, and that's why it hurts a little bit. That's why. Because we don't like good things to end. It's the way we're built. Or we want the bad things to not be here. When the bad things arise, we resist that as well. We don't want to accept it. And it makes for longing in us. It makes for mini longing to stay in bed, and it makes for much, much bigger longing on much bigger things that come through our lives. This truth of impermanence that Buddha laid out is it allows us to be with life just that much more courageously if we can notice it. It allows for insight to know it. And what I noticed personally, so that morning, I did have the bad thoughts start their cascade. And then I paused and said, wait a minute, how is this feeling inside, Kylie? How is this? Oh, it's this heavy rock inside my chest. Maybe there's a feeling of nausea. I had a feeling of nausea. I was disgusted about the children, so there was this feeling of nausea in my stomach. A feeling of deflation because I felt sad and ineffective, unable to help. So this feeling of kind of deflating. I even felt a little ache in my heart for the bunny rabbits, the babies, right? And it allowed this new line of thinking that came in. It was so powerful. And the line of thinking was, I do meaningful work as a meditation teacher. I do meaningful work trying to be a thoughtful and kind person. And these things take my time and my effort and my energy. And I need my rest so I can stay fresh for my life. And so, do I have time to take up another cause? Does this line of thinking, does this cascade, this proliferation of thought upon thought, does it serve my freshness. Mm-mm. Do I care? Yes. And now I can let it go. And to me, that feels like an ethical movement of the mind. Yes, I care. Yes, I feel the pain. And I let go because I have to do what I do. I have to do my work. So, but I'll end there. I'm noticing the time. And that's enough, I think, for today.